Koka, my own source of knowledge. I'm proud to belong, I'm proud to belong to the citadel of excellence. Fidelitas, 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 fidelitas. Up school.
We play at times and race and run. I'll tell you why. For love of game. Ha, ha, ha. Play your fingers, play your game. Ha, ha, ha. Play your fingers, play your game for love of game. Ha, ha, ha. Play your fingers, play your game for love of game. Up score!
St. Finbarr's is no doubt a great educational institution that has consistently punched above its weight.
Father Slattery saw from afar that good education serves as antidote to this unhappy state of affairs, not just by producing technocrats, but by producing technocrats with ethical competence.
Grateful for it, and it's very warming to see that you guys appreciate that and haven't forgotten your founder and haven't forgotten the contribution they made to this great country.
Tonight, we must fulfill Father Slattery's dream, having a premier institution that epitomizes what an ideal educational institution, secondary education, should be.
I met Father Slattery by accident. So I'm very proud of you. I thank you for making this day.
Lord, we lift you up.
Niger flavor that
You've done so much for me, I cannot tell it all. If I had 10,000 tons, it still won't be enough. When you hear completely. What shall I render to Jehovah? For he has done so very much for me. What shall I render to Jehovah? done so much for me, I cannot tell it all. Yeah. Tell it all. If I had 10,000 tongues, still won't be enough, Jesus. Chukuna Wama Rele. When you're here completely. Chukuma Robimo. Isi Kendule. What shall I render to Jehovah? For he has done so very much for me. What shall I render?
But I am happy to be here, and I'm happy with the transformation that we have been able to witness over the years. I'd like to thank God. I'd like to thank the St. Nicholas College Old Boys Association and all our friends for making it possible for us to lift the game for that great school. Could you please give yourselves a round of applause? We will attempt to raise a huge sum of money, which I'm sure is possible, to further support the school. And we implore all of you here to give us what you can, because we appreciate the times that we're living in today, but we know that from the depth of your hearts, you would love to support St. Nicholas College. We will be having a keynote address by His Excellency, the Irish Ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Peter Ryan. He's already here with us. Could you give him a round of applause? Their awards of the distinguished conquerors and benefactors. They are all here with us. And of course, I promise you that tonight will be one that you will all enjoy. I ask you to all come with me on this very, very, very entertaining and interesting session today. I thank you all for being here with us. I will quickly like to call on a pastor, George Ahigbe. He used to stand between the sticks in those days as goalkeeper for the school. But today, his role will be slightly different. He will not be holding the ball, he will be holding the mic as he gives us the opening prayer. Could we all please rise as we take the opening prayer? Please welcome him, Pastor George Ahigbe.
Shall we pray? Our Father in heaven, we just want to thank you for tonight. We want to thank you for the gathering of your people. For your word says that we are 2 or 3 are gathered together, that you are there present with them. We will invite you, Holy Spirit, into all that we'll be doing today. And we ask, Lord, that you take absolute control in the mighty name of Jesus. The Bible says in Luke 1:37 that with our God that nothing shall be impossible. We have in mind to raise 500 million naira towards St. Finbar's Endowment. And because you are the God with which all things are possible, we know that it has been done in the mighty name of Jesus. So we return all the honor, all the glory and adoration unto your holy name. All those that are yet to be with us, Father in heaven, we ask that you will bring to come, join us soonest in the mighty name of Jesus, so that as your people, Lord, we will glorify that which you began almost 70 years ago through Father Dennis Slattery in St. Finbar's College. Blessed be your holy name, Abba Father. In Jesus' mighty name we have prayed. Amen.
remain standing, I would like to ask some of the students of St. Finbar's College to kindly come up and do the school anthem. But I'd like to explain that the school anthem is not one that is familiar to all of us in the house. So we had to pick a few of them to assist us while the rest of us hum along.
Jacoka, my own source of knowledge. I'm proud to belong, I'm proud to belong to the citadel of excellence. Fidelitas, 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 fidelitas. Up school.
Thank you. I actually think we did better in our days with what we imagined was a school song. We play at times and race and run. I'll tell you why. For love of game. Hark, hark, hark. Play your fingers, play your game. Hark, hark, hark. Play your fingers, play your game for love of game. Hark, hark, hark. Play your fingers, play your game for love of game. Up school! So that in those days, please, you may take your seats now. That in those days was what we imagined was the school song. Because at that time it was serious business. In those days, we were highly preoccupied with our soccer prowess. We were always going to the soccer field to damage the likes of St. Gregory's, King's College, Igbobi College, name them. So we had our war songs. We had our war songs which we imagined were school songs. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to lay out the protocol for today. And this is so that it makes it easier for anyone who comes up the stage to make any speech to just do an abridged version. The chairman, Board of Trustees, the QS Shegun Ajanle Koko. National President, St. Finbar's College Old Boys Association, Mr. Patrick Doyle, DC. His Grace, Archbishop of Lagos Diocese, Adewale Martins, here represented. Mr. Governor, the Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, also here represented. His Excellency, the Irish Ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Peter Ryan and his team. The School Administrator, St. Finbar's College, Akoka, Reverend Father Emmanuel Babalola. The guest speaker, Professor Reverend Father Anthony Akinwale. Awardees, distinguished conquerors and benefactors, distinguished guests, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. So from this point, you don't have to go through this entire protocol anymore. So all you need to say is, well, you could say you're standing on existing protocol, or simply identify His Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and we move on. Thank you so much. I would also like to take the opportunity to acknowledge the presence of some of our very good friends who are here with us, some of them classmates, some of them ancestors, some of them old friends and old boys. We have with us Mr. Murphy Kiran, We have Albert Ijetimo, Francis Oguamanam, and Florence Oguamanam. Mr. Soji Alabi is a personal friend. Tunji Mayaki, sitting in the back of the hall somewhere there. Enebong Albert, Yejide Wise and John Wise, my very good friend, Johnny. Ayonuga Adeleke, and a host of others. We will take those recognitions. Okay, so excuse me for that breaking transmission. Usually I don't talk to people outside of stage. At this point, we have a documentary for you, and we'd like you to all sit back, relax, and enjoy this for the next few minutes. Thank you.
The Very Reverend Father Dennis Joseph Slattery was born in Fermoy, County Cork, Ireland on the 29th of February 1916. At 16 years of age in 1932, young Dennis began his missionary vocation and was ordained a priest of the Society of African Missions on the 17th of December 1939. By 1941, at the peak of the Second World War, the 25-year-old Irish priest embarked on a voyage to Africa, Nigeria to be precise. On arrival on the shores of Nigeria, he was posted to Ilawe Ekiti, but was recalled to Lagos the following year and posted to St. Gregory's College as a teacher and games master. In 1943, he was again posted to the Catholic Printing Press, where he rose to be the editor of the Catholic Herald. As a journalist, he played a vital role in the 1945 general strike, as well as the Enugu coal miners' strike, to the chagrin of the British colonial government, so much so that they unsuccessfully tried on 3 occasions to deport him. He was also a keen sportsman and played regularly for the Lagos United Football Club. At one time, he was chairman of the Nigerian Football Association, and he actually founded the Referees Association. Father Slattery's love and fervor for Nigeria most likely served as the impetus for his vision to found a secondary school with a dual curriculum of both grammar and technical education that would meet the needs of a soon-to-be independent Nigeria. The proposal for such an institution was presented to the Catholic Voluntary Agency in 1955. The result of that noble vision culminated in the founding of St. Finbarr's College on the 2nd of January 1956. The new institution, which was named after the patron saint of Father Slattery's beloved native County Cork in Ireland, was thus born with him as the founding principal. The college started out with 68 students in borrowed classrooms within the St. Paul's Catholic Primary School compound in Apapa Road, Ebutemeta, Lagos. Thereafter, the search for a permanent location finally led to the marshlands of Akoka, Yaba. So it was that barely 3 years after classes began on the premises of St. Paul's Primary School, Ebutemeta, St. Finbarr's College moved to its permanent site in 1959. 1 year after, the fledged institution sought and received the approval of the Federal Ministry of Education to enroll students for the West African School Certificate examinations. Like all great institutions, the college has its fair share of epoch events in academics and sports, as well as stellar alumnus in diverse areas ranging from academia, sports, business, the professions, and the military, as well as media and entertainment. Truth be told, conquerors, as Finbarians are referred to, are to be found in practically every field of human endeavor around Nigeria and globally.
Father Slattery was a colossus. During our time, he was a field marshal, a general 5-star who you cannot evade and who you cannot but see anytime you are in these premises. During our time, we were 90, we got whittled, and then We sat for the school cert in '69, and we had the best result in the whole of Lagos State with 31 grade 1s. Father Slattery was inspiring. It was an embodiment of discipline. And there were 4 rules that guide the school during those days. Number 1 was, if you steal, you are out. If you cheat in exams, you are out. If you are caught loitering around the premises or outside the gate during school hours, you are out. And if you are caught smoking or taking drugs, you are out. So it was a highly disciplined college. And like I said, Father Slattery was the field marshal. I'm a conservator in practice, and I've been in practice for over 40 years. Whatever success story I can lay claim to is due to the fact that I have a solid foundation from this citadel of learning, St. Finbar's College. And so it is heartwarming to come back to the ground and relive those old days.
My name is Kayode Bolarinwa Anibaba of St. Finbar's 1970-74 set. Laid the foundation for my profession and what I am today was laid in that school. Of all the schools I attended, especially Father Dennis Joseph Slattery, whom I found to be a very prolific trainer of men. There was never a week Father Slattery would not speak to each and every one of us through the moral instructions classes. Mondays for Forms 1, Tuesdays for Forms 2, and on like that till Friday. And it has impacted me positively. I took my school cert in '74. 3 results out of the whole lot were withheld. One of the Iron Boys was one of the 3 of us. And somehow they released 2 and they didn't release mine. Father Slattery took me in his car to WAEC and asked them to set exam for me to take within that week. They now said no, that they were remarking, and at the end of the day, the thing came out. I want to thank God for making our paths crossed, and I want to continue praying that his soul will find repose with his Creator.
My name is David Ige. I graduated from St. Finbar's College about 40 years ago in 1982. I remember this being my last class from 5A. And every time I come back here, it's always a pleasure remembering the big impact St. Finbar's College has had on my life. Today I work as an engineer. I own my oil and gas company, but a lot of what I am today started from here. St. Finbar's College really was instrumental not only in the academic upbringing, but in particular the moral upbringing. In particular, I remember Reverend Father Slattery, who was our father and our mentor. Father Slattery instilled all the moral uprightness in us, got all the values that we needed to have as young boys. A lot of what all of us are today stems from those training, and we remember him with a lot of satisfaction for the impact he has made. But also the impact St. Finbar's College made on us academically. The combination of those two has made a lot of difference in our lives and in my life personally. And it's a pleasure to commemorate this day on behalf of Father Slattery.
Hi, my name is Dr. Janae Logan. I'm a neurosurgeon here in Nashville, Tennessee, in the United States. I'm of the graduating class of 1996, and my first experience and exposure to real life, I believe, which has guided me through my arduous and yet rewarding path, started at St. Finbar's College right there in Akoka. I am a member of the SF COBA group, and I'm a proud member at that. We're here today at our 11th anniversary here in Nashville, Tennessee, and I just want to make the comment that Father Slattery and his legacy has impacted significantly to my life and to my current state and where I am today. I'm truly grateful for that experience.
Hi, my name is Walter Igweze, engineer here in the United States, class of 2008, St. Finbar's College, Akoka, Lagos. St. Finbar's was a very good college for me, like in terms of modeling my Nigerian culture, belief. Of course, In terms of sport, I was more in the athletics team where I impacted the team in terms of success throughout my college year. And of course, most importantly, I won't go without mentioning late Father DJ Slattery, who was really, really impactful, his model, keeping his legacy and living his legacy across down to this year. So pretty much I won't be where I am without living that dream down across till my day now in the United States. So St. Finbarr's College was really, really the first foundation for me growing up.
Now you've been privileged to see the achievers, the products, and the caliber of the old boys of this great institution, St. Finbarr's College. All this is attributable to this founder, Reverend Father Dennis Joseph Slattery. Now it is my singular honor and privilege as the chairman of the Board of Trustees of St. Finbarr's College Old Boys Association to welcome you most warmly to this epoch-making event of the annual Reverend Father Dennis Joseph Slattery Memorial Lecture and fundraising dinner for the St. Finbarr's College. Please give generously. In giving, manifold should be the return flow to you. I thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much. I must say that when I grow up, I'd like to be a Board of Trustees chairman too. Could we all please give a round of applause to our chairman there? Thank you so much. And while that was going on, His Grace, the Archbishop, Lagos Diocese, in the person of Reverend Father Francis Ike, and he is the parish priest, the Church of Assumption in Falomo. Could you all please give him a round of applause? Let's welcome him. I'll just go back to that documentary, and I found something missing. I'm sure, John Weiss, you'll remember this, how Father Slattery used to hold up his cassock and run after us in the school compound and jump over the hedges. Boy, you get back here, boy. I'll send you down that road and you'll never come back again. That was Father Slattery for you. And you see, what we didn't understand in those days is that he was building a soccer academy of sorts. His boys were all interested in playing football, and we were doing very well in football, but he made us combine it with our academics. If there was anything like a soccer academy in those days, I think St. Finbarr's College would have been the very first. Yeah? Great. So at this point, without wasting our time, I would like to invite the national president, St. Finbarr's College Old Boys Association, Patrick Doyle, DC, a well-known face, to give us his short welcome address. Let's welcome him, please. Emphasis on short, because the guys are big talk. Please, let's put our hands together as our national president, Patrick Doyle.
Thank you very much. I will be standing on the established protocols and get on with the business at hand. However, it is a tall order to ask a tall man to give a short speech. So I shall be breaking that protocol, and I will read my speech in its totality. You don't get a chance to speak to such a distinguished audience often. So here I go. Our alma mater was founded by the late Reverend Father DJ Slattery. It is reputed as being the first secondary school in Nigeria to offer a technical education curriculum. The school is also famous for its proud sporting legacy, and it has produced a galaxy of sporting heroes who, over the decades, have done Nigeria proud. Indeed, Reverend Father Slattery was the pioneer chairman of the Nigerian Football Association. He was also regarded as one of the frontline nationalists who vigorously advocated for the independence of Nigeria from the British colonial rule. It is for these reasons that the St. Finbarr's College Old Boys Association feels the need to celebrate the proud legacies of Reverend Father Slattery. St. Finbarr's is no doubt a great educational institution that has consistently punched above its weight. Of the established legacy schools in Nigeria, we are possibly the youngest, being founded in 1956. However, we have notched up an intimidating catalogue of outstanding achievements, putting us at par with other great schools founded decades before ours. With these great feats comes the responsibility and challenge of sustainability. It would seem that success has the knack of punishing the successful with the task of perpetual labor. And that, gentlemen and ladies, is a desirable conundrum we find ourselves in today. Since the school was returned to the Catholic mission, this association has contributed remarkably to its development. This evening, we hope to reward some of our more diligent old boys for the commitment they have expressed towards the upliftment of our old school. In the course of this evening, we shall be conferring on them the association's highest honor of the Distinguished Conqueror Award. All the same, we feel the need to devise sustainable formulas to support our school. Hence, at this event, we will be soliciting assistance from our friends and associates to create an endowment fund for the school. We trust that we can count on you, our most distinguished guests, to rise to the occasion and be a part of a noble venture to sustain the legacy of a truly great Irish Nigerian, the very Reverend Father Dennis Slattery. Thank you. Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. That said, in the years that I was in St. Finbarr's College, I can proudly say there were only 2 Irish men in the school. One was on the staff as the principal. The other was there as a student, and a very diligently rascally student. Father Slattery and Patrick Doyle were both in St. Finbarr's at about the same time. But so was Mr. Beckley. Okay, Mr. Beckley was a teacher who I had plenty run-ins with. He passed on recently, but before he passed on, he actually sent word and said he blesses me. I showed him a thing or two back in the day. But that said, ladies and gentlemen, I met the Irish ambassador recently, and his fervor for establishing the links between Ireland and Nigeria was contagious. For the first time, I felt proud of being a Nigerian of Irish descent, because this ambassador came gung-ho, and I'm feeling welcome within the Irish community in Nigeria as a result of his very, very rigorous diplomatic shuttling between Abuja and Lagos. Peter Ryan, the Irish ambassador, Your Excellency, we warmly, very warmly welcome you to this event. And I've always maintained to the ambassador that St. Finbarr's College at Corker is the most significant, visible, and probably the proudest legacy of Irish clergymen in Nigeria. And we're proud to be associated with you, and we're so happy that you're here today. That said, ladies and gentlemen, the keynote address will be given by the Irish ambassador, His Excellency Peter Ryan, and now is the time for that address to be given. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Peter Ryan.
As we wait for Peter Ryan to come up here, I'd like us all to quickly recognize the presence of the chairman of today's event, Senator Anthony Adefuye. He is a distinguished senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Baba Ijo of St. Denis Church, Akoka. You're welcome, sir. Your Excellency, your time.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, Reverend Fathers, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to use my 3 favorite words in Nigeria: all protocol observed. How can you follow an actor who I saw being slapped on the face last night on Netflix? And I don't think we'll try and reenact that this evening, if that's okay. But look, I wanted to say what a great honor it is. It's a very humbling experience to be here as the representative of the government and the people of Ireland in a place that has brought such honor to the memory of one of our own. And I think Patrick said about the school being the living legacy, and I'm not going to disagree with him or anything like that. I'm going to say actually the legacy is all of you and all of the other people who are going around every day honoring the contribution that Father Slattery made. You might know that Father Slattery was born when Ireland was not independent, when Ireland also was a colony. He was born in 1916 in a very difficult year for Irish history, because it was the year when a very small number of people, about the number of people who are currently in this room, decided they were going to take on the largest empire in the whole world. And then they didn't tell each other about it, but they took it on nevertheless in Dublin in 1916, the year Father Slattery was born. In an extraordinary statement, they didn't plan on winning, they didn't think they'd win, and they certainly didn't win, but they left a legacy to the people who came behind them, and they said to the people who came behind them, we too deserve the right to secure our own futures and decide our own futures. So when Father Slattery was 5 years old, 5 years of age in 1921, his city in Cork, in Ireland, the second largest city in Ireland, his city was burned to the ground by the colonial ruler. Not a small part of the city, the entire city was burned to the ground. And the people of Cork showed a little bit of resilience. They rebuilt their city, and within 1 year, they had secured the independence of their city. And Ireland secured its independence in 1922, when Father Slattery was all of 6 years of age. And remember, his home place is a place called Doneraile. I don't know whether anybody has been to Doneraile yet, but Doneraile is a little village outside of Cork. Very special place. A place where English was not the first language when Father Slattery was born. English was the second language. So there's no surprise that when Father Slattery came to Nigeria in 1939, the first thing he did was learn a local language, because he came from a place where English wasn't the first language. So it was very natural for him, I've got to speak the language of the boys I'm going to be seeing every day. But as our chairman will know very well, Father Slattery came from an extraordinarily rich heritage of education and culture, because St. Finbar, after whom your illustrious school is named, had built a school in Ireland, in Cork, 1,500 years before that. Imagine that. 1,700 years ago, in AD 500, St. Finbar was born. And what did he do? He educated the young people, and he educated people where he was. So when the first cathedrals were built in Cork, of both Christian faiths, they were both named after him. They were both named St. Finbar. Such was the esteem in which he was held. And what was the greatest fear for our colonial masters? The greatest fear was education, education, and more education. So I'm not surprised at all when I read, and I read the wonderful stories, and to hear and to watch the wonderful stories of the contribution of Father Slattery here, that his commitment to education and to ethical upbringing and moral upbringing, and sports too, because we have to be fit and healthy, we have to be competitive, and to be the best we can be, to achieve our potential. Now, Father Slattery's hometown in Cork is pretty famous for its sports stars also. Many of you will watch the Premier League and you'll see Roy Keane on television. Yeah, Roy Keane. He doesn't lie down, he's not quiet. I'm sure the Nigerian Referees Association won't be inviting him to their annual dinner. But he exemplifies the spirit that I think is in Cork, is in what they call the rebel county. So in Cork, they say, are you a rebel? It's the first question they ask, are you a rebel? So when I hear of the stories of Father Slattery supporting those people at their time of need and putting himself in the face of danger, I'm not in the least bit surprised about it. And in fact, when Patrick and I met with the wider committee back in March, I think, of this year, I went away and I started doing a bit of homework about Father Slattery. I spoke to the SMA fathers in Ireland, and I'll let you in on a little secret. The largest retirement home for SMA fathers, surprise, surprise, is in Cork. Okay? Not very far from where Father Slattery is from. I spoke to them on Saturday, 2 days ago, and I said to them, is there anybody there who remembers Father Slattery? And they said, Peter, whether they remember him or not, they'll tell you stories about him. And some of the stories will be true. And I like that. So he's caught on as a bit of a legend and as a bit of a character also. There's 40 retired SMA fathers living in that house in Blackrock Road in County Cork. 35 of them lived and worked in Nigeria. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a pretty special contribution to have made from a little tiny island, 1/15 the size of Nigeria. Our people came here. Our people came here to educate and to contribute to the development of this country. We're grateful for it, and it's very warming to see that you guys appreciate that and haven't forgotten your founder and haven't forgotten the contribution they made to this great country. I should say also that I promised to bring back a suitcase full of some Nigerian food for the fathers when I go home. So the two words I like the most when I'm traveling, two words, you might know them, you might have heard them already. It's called diplomatic immunity. So usually I can bring whatever I like in the bag once it's edible, and that's my plan, is to go back to visit them. And you'll know also that when Father Slattery was reaching out to set a standard in St. Finbarr's, to set a standard for this country, when this country would achieve its independence, that it would need leaders, that it would need people who were going to step up and serve in their community and have a commitment to public service. You'll know that he, of course, borrowed from his own history in Ireland. So the school that he went to in Ireland is a school that provided many of the great leaders in our country. And there's a very funny story about probably our greatest leader from Cork City, also immortalized in Hollywood. Not yet in Nollywood, but maybe Patrick can help us. So there was a man called Michael Collins who was a leader against the British in the struggle for Irish independence. And Michael Collins, funnily enough, he would have made a good goalkeeper, like the guy who was up earlier, like Patrick. Michael Collins is a big guy. So they called him the big fella. The big fella. And on the day that the British Army were marching out of Dublin for the last time, for the very last time, the commander of the British Army was a man called General Macready. And Macready had arranged that the Irish Army would march in at 12 noon and that the British Army would march out at 12 noon. 12 noon passes, 12:01 passes, 12:02 passes. We're on Irish time, Nigerian style. Collins arrives with the Irish Army in their new green uniforms at 12:08, 8 minutes late. And the general looks at his watch and he says, General Collins, you're 8 minutes late. To which Collins replies, We've waited 800 years for our independence. You can wait 8 minutes. And it's an interesting reminder to us about the big swathes of history we're dealing with in one man. Because if you had said to Father Slattery when he arrived here in Nigeria to see the progress and development and independence that's happened, and if you saw that right up until today, that would be quite extraordinary. We're very fortunate that one of our people was on that journey with you. We hope that we can be on the next phase of the journey with you also. You'll also know that the Irish and Nigerians share lots of similar traits and interests. One of the things that we do is we never go to a party on our own. The Nigerians never arrive on their own to a party. The Irish are the same. So today I didn't come on my own either. I brought 4 great friends of Ireland here in Nigeria who are joined with me on an effort to really begin to cement the obvious links and ties that we see. So I really want to thank Alice Dina from Dublin for joining us. She might stand up there and so you'll recognize her when you're going to have a chat with her. I want to thank Kieran Murphy for taking the time to join us. Kieran, if you don't mind, please. I want to thank Miss Aduke Gomez, who of course is from right here, and many of you will know her very well, and my great friend Tunde Afolabi. Tunde. We're here, and we're here every day, Patrick. Patrick knows I want to move the embassy to Lagos, but I have to wait for the government to move the capital back here, if you don't mind. But I'll let you in on a little secret. In Ireland, Cork is called the real capital. So it's another similarity between Cork and Lagos. But I'll let you in on another little secret that with Aduke, with Alice, with Kieran, with Tunde, and with a group of other great friends of Ireland here, we are going to be working hard to re-cement our cultural links, our links of heritage, our business links with one another, our education links, and also in the sports area, and music, and dance, and maybe a movie or two as well. So we want to be on that journey with you at the next phase of St. Finbarr's. And we'll do whatever we can to support and facilitate that. And if you're thinking that Ireland has changed since Father Dennis left and Nigeria has changed, there's never been a better time, in my opinion, to improve the connections between Father Dennis's home place and this dynamic city. We're seeing in Ireland now, we had 5 Irish players of Nigerian heritage. I think the next time we might need 11 because we were beaten by the Netherlands, but that's okay. That's okay. The Irish get knocked down, we'll get back up again and we'll give it another go. But we do want to hear from you. We want to meet you. We're around for the evening. Please drop over and say hello. Connect with us. Hopefully you're going to be hearing a lot more about Nigeria-Ireland relations. And we're delighted for the relationship at St. Finbarr's to be at the heart of that. I'm going to finish now with just one very short story. And they're all true, Reverend Anthony, just like I'm looking forward to your lecture as well. But Cork is famous for something else. In 1912, a very famous ship that some of you might have heard of that was built in Ireland had its last stop just next door to Cork in a place called Cove, which is right next to Cork City. And that ship, which some of you might have heard of, apparently there's a movie about it. It's called the Titanic. Yeah? You heard of the Titanic? Everyone heard of the Titanic? So the Titanic's last stop for passengers, so it's built in Belfast in Ireland, it sails to Southampton, picks up a few passengers, and stops in a place called Cove, C-O-B-H. And it stops in Cove, and that's its last stop before the fatal night, the terrible night when so many lives were lost and everything else came in history. And they asked somebody in Cork, the New York Times, or one of the New York papers anyway, went to Europe and were interviewing people in Cork, and they said, you know, the last place on the fateful voyage that the Titanic stopped us right here in Cove. What do you have to say about that? And they asked this guy on the street in Cork, and Patrick, do you know what his reply was? It was okay when it left here. Ladies and gentlemen, Gurv Mila Magav, I wish you well. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Just a second, Your Excellency. Just a second. And really, and I don't care if they get jealous, but at times like this, I always take my moment of fame. I'm going to get a handshake from you, and we're going to get the photographers to come around. This is the only time I have today to make it to the Ovation magazine. Where are the photographers? Another round of applause for His Excellency, the Irish Ambassador to Nigeria, Peter Ryan. Thank you, sir. And indeed, he nailed it. You know, there were a lot of things he said that were really, really profound. He unmasked our founder and father. He told us a few more things that make us understand why he was who he was, right? Now I see why whenever he got angry, his hair would stand rebelliously at the top of his forehead. And for those of us who met him in school, you know, Father Slattery he was an amazing man. You know, I remember days when we had soccer matches, and he would declare that we would only have like half the time in school. School was shut down at 1 o'clock. But the first period, you know, was always spent learning the songs that we will sing when we go out to play. Owegbe lugbe o, owegbe lugbe o, owegbe lugbe o, owegbe lugbe o, ade ori wa o, owegbe lugbe o, bàtà ẹsẹ̀ wa o, owegbe lugbe o. And that's deliberate. That song I did just now is deliberate. I remember in 1970, we met Baptist Academy. Remember? We walloped them. How many? 4 goals to 2. And so we decided that we'll rub it in their faces. And today, we've managed to bring shamelessly to our event the president of the Baptist Academy Old Boys Association. He's sitting here with his tail between his legs. I'd like you all to give a warm welcome to Mr. Akin Fatunke, who joined us. I would have loved to be a Fimbarian. But we welcome you as a brother. We welcome you as a brother. Thank you so much, Aki. Thanks so much. So we will move on now. I think we have some serious talk. We have a lecture, and it will be given by our guest speaker. He is Professor Reverend Father Anthony Akinwale. Could we all please welcome him as he comes up the stage to give us a talk on retrieving and protecting our common humanity. He's an old boy. He's an old boy, so I want to hear that round of applause. He's an old boy of that college. And today, as he steps up the stage proudly, he is an example of who you can be as a Fimbarian. I'm not sure I can be a Reverend Father anyway, but you're welcome, sir.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I don't want to stretch the protocol, but permit me to recognize someone so dear to me in this gathering. My maternal uncle, Pa George Okufi, is here with us. I think he stepped out briefly. Some of our past students of St. Finbar's were his students while he was rector at Yaba College of Tech between 1975 and 1985. A man who has had a lot of influence on me. He happens to be a Gregorian, so I have to be very careful what I say about St. Gregory's here. It is for me a privilege, a rare one for that matter, to have been chosen by the Old Boys Association of our alma mater, St. Finbar's College, as recipient of the Distinguished Conqueror Award and the year 2023 speaker at the Father Dennis Slattery Memorial Lecture. Father Slattery was a close friend to my parents. Indeed, he was one of the priests present when my parents got married. And he was one of the priests who inspired me to want to become a priest. A lot has been said about his contributions to education and sports in Nigeria. I don't think I need to go into that. But they are visible in the many outstanding personalities whose potential he actualized by his selfless dedication to his priestly duties, to education, and to sports. Today we have the legitimate pride of being products of a school that has produced academics, footballers, and among those footballers we have produced 5 captains of the national soccer team and 2 coaches of the national soccer team. I once had an exchange with late Governor Lam Adesina of Oyo State. He passed through Loyola College in Ibadan. And when I told him at a public gathering that St. Finbar's College taught Loyola College some lessons in football, he retorted and asked, "Has your school produced any governor?" Well, at the end of the event, I asked a question. Who puts more smiles on the faces of Nigerians? Governors or footballers?
Only a priest to say that.
Tonight, in honor of Father Slattery, and as a token of gratitude to St. Finbar's College Old Boys Association for honoring us, I have chosen to speak on the topic retrieving and protecting our common humanity. It is my modest attempt to remember a man who not only influenced me to attend the school he founded, but also, perhaps without knowing it, inspired me to want to be a priest involved in education and gave me a letter of recommendation when I told him I wanted to be a Dominican friar. As at Friday, September 22, 2023, it was estimated by the World Population Clock that our planet was populated by 8.6 billion inhabitants. Nigeria, with a population estimated at 225 million, counts as the 6th most populous country in the world, the most populous on the African continent, indeed the largest concentration of blacks in the world. The world is vast and diverse. The human race is a race of many races, but many are the adversities on this planet of diversity. It would seem human beings are incapable of relating with racial diversity. So we have the problem of racism, the unfounded and erroneous belief that persons of one race are superior to persons of another race. This erroneous belief largely contributed to the transatlantic slave trade and to the intra-African slave trade, to the colonization of lands and peoples of the global south by countries of the global north, to military, economic, and cultural hegemony of the global north over the global south, to interethnic strife in many an African country, to disenfranchisement of ethnic communities living outside their ancestral homeland, and to genocide. Racism is not an ailment, but a symptom. And since effective medical care delivery is not about treating symptoms while ignoring the cause, it is necessary that the ailment be diagnosed. The real ailment, I submit, is the world's oldest pandemic, which is the propensity to self-centeredness to the point of treating God, human beings, and the cosmos itself with contempt. Treating God with contempt comes from failure to recognize the sovereignty of God. God manifests his sovereignty in creating the world, and the diversity in creation comes from the sovereign will of God. The divine artist has created a beautiful world and has enhanced that beauty with diversity. But racists fail to grasp the aesthetic significance of a world of diversity. The 13th century Dominican philosopher and theologian St. Thomas Aquinas recognized this divinely willed diversity when he wrote in his reflection on creation, and I quote, "We must say that the distinction and multitude of things come from the intention of the first agent, the Creator. For he brought things into being in order that his goodness might be communicated to creatures and be represented by them. And because his goodness could not be adequately represented by one creature alone, he produced many and diverse creatures, that what was wanting to one in the representation of the divine goodness might be supplied by another. For goodness, which in God is simple and uniform, in creatures is manifold and divided. And hence, the whole universe together participates in the divine goodness more perfectly and represents it better than any single creature whatever." End of quote. The distinction of creatures is not just a distinction of genre. It is also a distinction within genre. And that is where racial distinction comes into the discussion. The human race is a race of races. The distinction is willed by God, but not the marginalization of one race by another. That distinction amplifies the beauty of creation. But human creatures seem to show an inability or unwillingness to appreciate the beauty of diversity as an expression of the sovereign will of the Creator, an expression of God who is beauty itself. In this lack of appreciation of the aesthetic significance of distinction, racial distinction is erroneously interpreted as superiority or inferiority, as inequality of one race vis-a-vis another race. But racial distinction within the human race provides no valid premise for the affirmation of racial inequality. Human beings are human beings, whatever their racial affiliation. What makes a white person human is what makes a person of color human. And so the challenge is for us to identify what makes all of us human. What makes us human is our creation in the image and likeness of God. Concretely, what makes us human is our endowment by the Creator with rationality, with free will, and with a desire to love and be loved. Failure to recognize the sovereignty of God shows itself in failure to recognize the rationality and free will of human beings, and the one who is not seen as rational and free is reduced to a subhuman level. If we fail to recognize divine sovereignty, we shall violate human rights. Treating the Creator with contempt leads to failure to recognize the dignity of creatures. Since failure to recognize the sovereignty of God manifests itself in failure to recognize the dignity of the human person created in the image and likeness of God. Racism is failure to recognize the dignity of a human person on the grounds of the racial affiliation of the person. That is why racism is not the ailment, but symptom of the ailment. The contempt of God, of human beings and creation that racism is not peculiar to one particular race of human beings. It shows itself in white against black racism, as we learn from the history of the transatlantic slave trade. It shows itself in white against white racism, as we learn from the history of wars in Europe, exemplified by the sad chapter of the relationship between the Irish and the British. It is seen in black against black racism, as we see in the history of inter and intra-ethnic conflicts in Africa. It is seen in the largely unspoken history of intra-African slave trade and in black against white racism. History shows that the colored peoples of the African continent have not only been on the receiving end of racism, racism is also perpetrated by colored peoples of Africa on colored peoples of Africa. Examples abound. I shall cite, for example, what is depicted in the lyrics of Sonny Okosun's Holy War, an album he received when my generation was going through secondary education at St. Finbar's. He sang a song during the years of racist apartheid policy in Africa, in South Africa. And he said, "There is mystery in the air. Africans are not together." Within the same context of racism in South Africa, he sang Fire in Soweto. And in Fire in Soweto, he wondered, tell me what you're gonna do when you find out the truth that the color of God is neither black nor white. I once joked that while he was singing about fire in Sokoto, he forgot the fire. No, he was singing about the fire in Soweto. He was not singing about the fire in Sokoto, whereas fire was already raging in Sokoto then. Within the same context of racism, the lyrics of Okosun's Holy War points to a fact that is often ignored. And that is, many of us Africans live in denial. We deny there is racism among black Africans. We only talk of racism as a white versus black matter. Just as many black and African scholars find it convenient to maintain a deafening silence over the interethnic wars and the intra-African slave trade that preceded and facilitated the transatlantic slave trade. Many Africans would either gloss over or deny outright that there is intra-African racism. We often speak of tribalism, yet the real name of tribalism is racism. There are black supremacists, just as there are white supremacists. And the two types of human beings have one thing in common. They lay claims to ethnic supremacy because they fail to recognize our common humanity. They fail to recognize the fact that what makes you human is what makes me human, and what makes us human is what makes them human. While the white supremacist uses the color of his skin to draw his unfounded conclusion that he is superior to the black African, the African ethnic supremacist predicates his claim on the mere fact of his ethnic affiliation. Such is the fallacy of superior ethnic affiliation to which many Africans subscribe without admitting it. The instances I have cited are illustrative and not exhaustive. We see it in the intermittent xenophobic attacks in South Africa, in Nigeria, and in many African countries. We perceive it in the ever-rising tone of indigenous settler rhetoric, especially during electioneering seasons. We perceive it, it stares us in the face, yet we pay little attention to it. Who would have thought during the years of apartheid, when Nigeria opened her doors wide to South Africans seeking refuge from racism, that the time would come when Nigerians would be compelled to flee a xenophobic South Africa? We must avoid an idealist reconstruction of a past that never was. A reconstruction that presupposes and perpetuates the assumption that xenophobia is alien to Africa and that it is a product of Africa's encounter with Western colonialism and globalization. Two exemplifications of this reconstructive presupposition can be found in Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart and in the lyrics of one of my favorite musicians, Fela Anikulapo Kuti. The lyrics of his song, Why Black Man They Suffer, in which he said, we dey sit down for our land, jeje. We dey mind our business, jeje. Some people come from faraway land. Them fight us and take our land. Them take our people and spoil our towns. Now since then trouble start. Our riches then take away to their land. In return, then give us their colony. Them take our culture away from us. Them give us them culture we no understand. Black people, we no know ourselves. We no know our ancestral heritage. We dey fight each other every day. We're never together. We're never together at all. That is why black man, they suffer. I'm sure, Your Excellency, you speak some pidgin English now. If the assumption in these lyrics were valid, Africa's numerous ethnic communities would have been living together in peace before the arrival of conquerors from the global north, but such was not the case. The propensity to dominate is found in every human being. It was found in the African before the arrival of slave dealers and colonialists. This propensity can only be moderated and tamed by education in virtue, by the rule of just laws, and by conversion to what is true, to what is good, and to what is loving. Xenophobia comes from fear and suspicion of the foreigner. History shows that before Africa's contact with European colonialists, we Africans were fighting on tribal lines, and that even within the same ethnic community, all was not well. There is only a semblance of solidarity when there is a perceived common enemy. Where was African communalism when the Tutsi and the Hutu were massacring each other in Rwanda? Where was African sense of common life during the ethnic cleansing military coups of January 15 and July 29, 1966 in Nigeria? Where was Ujamaa, the philosophy of Julius Nyerere, when the Igbo were being killed before and during the Nigerian Civil War? Where was Ajobi and Ajogbe during the Ife and Modakeke altercation? As we speak, there is heightened insecurity in Nigeria, and accusing fingers are being pointed across boundaries of ethnic communities. I must at this point differentiate between ethnicity and ethnocentrism. Ethnicity is a legitimate love of one's ethnic community. It is different from ethnocentrism, which is use of one's ethnic affiliation for purposes of malicious solidarity against members of another ethnic community. In other words, the former is a virtue, the latter is a vice. Xenophobia is the offspring of ethnocentrism. It is not peculiar to Africa. Europeans fought their own interethnic wars before they opted for liberal democracies. To reduce ethnic and religious tension, they put in place constitutions that protect the citizen from the hands of government. But in Africa, what has been tamed by constitutional provisions elsewhere has been institutionalized in Africa, even built into our constitutions. Even organs and functionaries of state are used to propagate it. There is no difference between what some South Africans are doing to other Africans and what some other Africans do to Africans of ethnic or religious affiliations different from theirs. Our various African countries are known for their ethnic cleavages, and in fact, apart from interethnic conflicts, there are also intra-ethnic conflicts. That is, when people of the same ethnic community go after each other's dignity, life, and property because of real or perceived injustice. At this point of my discourse, I would like to focus more on Nigeria and on our memorialization of Father Dennis Joseph Slattery, our venerable founder who saw the potential in Nigerians and who treated us with dignity. Famous for her oil wealth, Nigeria is very richly blessed with a clement climate, an incredibly fertile soil, and with men and women who are intelligent, prodigious, and industrious. Her intellectuals, renowned for their remarkable contributions to the arts and the sciences. Her exotic entertainment in music and her irresistible Nollywood movie industry. Her greatly heroic sportsmen and sportswomen who, despite the non-availability of good sports facilities, are among the best in the world. Nigeria's mosaic of cultures showcases her ethnic diversity. Nigerian citizens profess and practice creeds of diverse, venerable religious traditions. Nigeria is a land we ought to be proud of. The land around the Niger is vast and inhabited by a population of diverse ethnic communities. That diversity can and ought to be an asset. However, it has become, or it has been turned into an albatross. Nigeria's diversity has always been willfully, badly, and dangerously mismanaged by her political actors. At every election season, what I sometimes call season of incivility, that diversity is instrumentalized to divide, intimidate, capture, and dominate the people of Nigeria. When Father Slattery left the shores of Ireland to come to Nigeria, it was during the Second World War. Father Slattery often told the story of how the ship in which he was sailing to Lagos was hit by a bomb around Dakar, Senegal. That war was a most tragic instance of failure to recognize our common humanity. But Slattery was a man who recognized, promoted, and protected that common humanity of which we speak. He was animated by the firm conviction that what made him a white man human was what made the Africans he was coming to serve human. Coming from an Irish nation on the receiving end of white against white racism, he stood up to be counted among Nigerians who struggled for independence from British colonial rule. His friendship with legendary Nnamdi Azikiwe, Nigeria's first Governor General, his camaraderie with Michael Imodu, Nigeria's first labor leader, among others, show that Slattery was convinced that Africans in general, Nigerians in particular, possessed the capacity to govern their land. His involvement in the struggle for Nigerian independence at the risk of deportation and his wholehearted commitment to good quality education reveal the restless spirit in a man diminutive in size but mighty in action. A man who knew how to lead the Nigerian to actualize the potential in the Nigerian so that the Nigerian can be respected in the whole wide world. Indeed, it takes a man who recognizes, respects, protects, and promotes our common humanity to accomplish the feat that St. Finbar's College turned out to be in academics and in sports. The occasion of this memorial lecture is an opportunity to rededicate ourselves to the task Father Slattery set out to accomplish, a task he has left us to accomplish, and that task is the task of retrieving, protecting, and promoting our common humanity. Just a decade after he founded St. Finbar's College, Nigeria experienced her first military coup d'etat. The ethnic cleansing that took place during that first coup in Nigeria on January 15, 1966, the killing of Eastern Nigerians living in northern Nigeria on May 30, 1966, further ethnic cleansing on the day of the second military coup on July 29, 1966, and during the Nigeria-Biafra War, 1967 to 1970. These point to our history of disgraceful ethnocentrism, a lamentable unwillingness to recognize our common humanity. But the immediate and remote factors that led to the military misadventure began to show their faces at amalgamation in 1914, when the British brought together disparate ethnic communities around the Niger. The Nigeria engendered by the British had no constitution for its first 8 years. From the Clifford Constitution of 1922, the very first, to the 1979 Constitution and its identical twin, the 1999 Constitution, both engendered and imposed by the military, Nigeria passes as a validating instance of Plato's philosophy of history, according to which every regime is worse than its immediately preceding regime. Here we are in a country whose constitution is dangerously deficient, whose dangerously deficient constitution has engendered weak institutions, whose weak institutions have repeatedly demonstrated a lack of capacity to protect and promote our common humanity and common citizenship. Nigerians have lost their sovereignty to a political class whose interests does not coincide with the interest of the population. Father Slattery founded a school that attracted students from various ethnic communities in Nigeria. My generation of old boys of St. Finbar's entered the school 4 years after the Nigeria-Biafra War and concluded our secondary education in 1979, the year Nigeria experienced the end of the first bout of pestilential military rule. We studied, we played, and evolved together without casting aspersions at our various ethnic communities. Almost 4.5 decades after we left St. Finbar's, we find ourselves in a country that has betrayed the noble aspiration that made Father Slattery establish an alma mater for us, an alma mater we are justifiably proud of. The aspiration to build a nation, not a state held together at gunpoint. Today, the common humanity and common citizenship of the Nigerian are abbreviated once the Nigerian crosses the boundary of his local government area. In a supposedly democratic polity, the right of the Nigerian to cast a vote in an election is either abbreviated or altogether denied by force or by an electoral process whose deficiencies we lack the political and moral will to remedy. Father Slattery saw from afar that good education serves as antidote to this unhappy state of affairs, not just by producing technocrats, but by producing technocrats with ethical competence. Our alma mater must continue to intensify its efforts to provide education that forms Nigerians who will participate in the task of building a new civilization of love in which our common humanity and its dignity are retrieved, protected, and promoted. And the event at which we gather tonight brings us together with our friends and well-wishers to assist the school to provide this type of education by generously providing the means necessary for the attainment of this goal. In a polity of magnificent complexity such as Nigeria, multi-ethnic, multi-religious, and multi-ideological in character, obstinate refusal and persistent failure to cultivate a veritably democratic culture has manufactured in abundant but disturbing quantity a ready recipe for instability, a formidable obstacle on the path of development. The instability engendered has itself given birth to a land richly endowed by the Maker, but inhabited by the most impoverished human beings on the planet. That is what it means to say Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world. But Nigeria has no business with poverty. Education changes its narrative when it inculcates the virtue of respect for our common humanity, inclusive and equal citizenship. With this, we can attain the national integration that is requisite for authentic development. And development, said Pope Paul VI, is another name for peace. For the sake of our children and our children's children, we must build a nation where the rights of a citizen will not be abbreviated and violated because of religious or ethnic affiliation. Let us live above the divisive rhetoric of our political elite. Let us live up to the words of our old national anthem, though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. But if we are unwilling to undertake this noble venture of transmutation of our country from a state held together at gunpoint to a veritable association of peoples who share core values, which is what a nation is, let us have the wisdom and the courage to peacefully dissolve the amalgam of Frederick Lugard. Never again shall we shed blood. On a practical note, each of us on social media must refrain from posting hate speech, insulting and demonizing people because of the language they speak, because of how they worship God, or because of how they voted or how they will vote. And if you know of anyone who uses hate speech, caution that person. Tell him or her no to xenophobia, no to ethnic cleansing, no to bloodshed. As members of diverse ethnic, religious, and regional communities, rather than trade insults, let us exchange ideas. I reiterate my gratitude to the St. Finbar's College Association for choosing me to deliver this lecture, and I thank you for listening.
Thank you. Prof. May I ask for my moment of fame? And you would want to know who wrote that script. I did. Thank you very much, sir. May we have another round of applause for him. Thank you. It couldn't have been better put. He touched on all the points, all the points. Wow. We have to move a little quickly now on our feet. We've gotten to the point where we have to get to the crux of the matter, which is the launching of the endowment fund. But we are not going to do that until we've heard from a gentleman whom I introduced earlier as a distinguished senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and also the Babajo of St. Denis Church. And that's not all. I'm told that he also chaired the 80th birthday party of our founder, Very Reverend Father Denis Joseph Slattery in those days. I'd like you all to welcome, for a few minutes, the chairman of today's occasion, Senator Anthony Adefuye. Please put your hands together for him. Please don't stop, he's not here yet. We'd like to hear a word or two from him. We are told that this gentleman happened to be one of the closest to Reverend Father Denis Slattery. And so I think the round of applause should start now. Would you want me to have my moment of fame before or after? As I like it. So I'll take it now. My moment of fame. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry I came late. The traffic was bad. I actually left home very early, but I got here late. I met Father Slattery by accident. I was living in Akoka, and I was attending the church, St. Dominic's Catholic Church. I think you know where Akoka is. You know where St. Dominic is. And this day, as usual, I was running late to attend the service at St. Dominic's. And I had a credo being sung from St. Finbar's. And I suspected there must be a church there. So I stopped and entered. And honestly, there was a church, and Father Slattery was the priest. So I attended the service. And it was during the harvest time. And they were asking for donation for harvest. And after about 1 minute, nobody volunteered to, to say they want to donate anything. So I stood up. I was just a one-year graduate at that time. I think that was 1972. And I said, 10,000 naira. I gave 10,000 naira. 10,000 naira at that time is like saying 1 million. And there was, they were looking. Who is that? And then Father Slattery came and then said I should come forward and say it again. I said, 10,000 naira. I donated 10 naira for the harvest. I had 48,000 in my pocket. I was going to pay for my annual house rent. So I took the 10,000 naira and paid. And everybody clapped again. When I came out from the church, Voila. No, I'm not saying this so that you can donate to here today heavily, but if you do, God will bless you. I recovered. I thought I was not going to be able to pay. I was really harassed by the landlord, for 1 week or the other. But that month, a lot of things happened which I cannot explain. I paid my 48 pounds. I think you call it pounds at that time, or naira, I don't know. But it was almost the same. I was able to pay. God blesses a very good donor. So that was how we met. Now the second time, this time, I have enjoyed my donation to the church, my 10,000 naira donation to the church. I was rich. I'm telling you, at that time, I have become very rich. So a particular political party came to meet me to stand for Senate. And I said, no, there's no way I'm going to come and waste my money, and so on and so forth. After long pressure, and I said, okay, let me contact my priest. If he says yes, I will stand. If he says no, I will stand. So I went to Father Slattery, and I said, this is what this political party told me. They want me to stand for Senate. He said, what did you tell them? I said, well, I want to consult my priest first. He said, is that so? I said, okay, I will pray for it. I will pray, and I will let you know. So one Sunday, I was in the service, and briefly he just stopped after his sermon and said, he came to me really, he didn't even announce my name, pulled my hand, brought me to the altar, and said, this is our next senator. And here I am. I became a senator. Honestly, I wasn't, I had put my mind off. I became a senator. So from then on, we became friends. And anything. In fact, I remember one time I was having a lot of trouble with my wife, and I went to him and I said, I don't understand what is happening. And he said, you two, come home early. Don't leave your wife. Come home early. Close early and let your wife feel you. Now, I agreed, but I was coming home early, and then I didn't find my wife at home. So one day I asked the house girl, I said, where is mommy? I said, he's gone to church. Church? Do you know the church? He said, yes. And then I followed her to the church. And it was a Pentecostal church. Me, Baba Ijo. My wife in Pentecostal church. So I waited and allowed them to finish. When they finished, my wife came out. I grabbed the hand, went to the pastor, yes, they call them pastor, and said, look, if you allow my wife to come here again, I will beat you up. I'm not joking. If you let her enter here again, I will beat you up because I know you are fake. And you are fake. So, after a while, maybe 4 weeks later or so, I came home again, and she wasn't there. So I went to that church. She was there. I scattered everything, I caused a lot of trouble. They didn't allow them to finish. And when she came home, I said, Madam, this marriage is finished. Me, Baba Ijo, you going to all this church, it's not possible. So she went and reported me to Father Slattery that I told her to leave. And Father Slattery said, what did you do? He said, because I went to Pentecostal church. He said, he came there and he almost beat up the pastor and so on and so forth. He said, no, Tony cannot do that. He said he did it. He said, okay, you can go. I will see Tony later. So when he saw me, he said, your wife came to report you. I said, what did he say? He said, I should tell him what happened. I said, no, tell me what he said. And he repeated all he said. And he said, and I said, yes, I did. He said, really? I said, yes, I did. He said, what happened? I said, look, I cannot be Baba Ijo, and my wife will be Pentecostal. That is fake. I cannot accept that. She has to go or she has to come to Catholic Church. So he called my wife later and said, I have spoken to your husband. He insisted he will divorce you if you continue to go to Pentecostal church. But I can help you. He said, yes. I will give you 3 months, for you to, I will give you lecture and and baptize you in 3 months. And after 3 months, I will marry the both of you together. If you agree, I will tell Tony. So she agreed. So she went for 3 months. What do you call it again? Yeah, catechism. Thank you. And in 3 months, she was baptized in the Catholic Church, and we were married again. And I can tell you, we never had any problem again. You are Catholics. You don't know what you gain. You don't know what you are. You don't know. Some of you don't know. I know. And I'm telling you, when you are in the Catholic Church, you are an agent of God. You are blessed. I'll tell you today, you are blessed. There are so many things that has happened. In fact, now, I will be 80 next year. I hardly go to church, but I attend the church online. 350, Lumen Christi. Is that it? Lumen Christi. Every Sunday, if I cannot go, I will turn to my Lumen Christi and attend service. I'm proud to be a Catholic. Are you proud to be one? Now, I went to Cork to see Father Slattery, and he told me he wants to be buried in Nigeria. This year, I still call the Archbishop. And I call the Cardinal Olubimi Okogie too. That look, I'm worried. I want to go and exhume Father Slattery and rebury him in Nigeria. And they said no. Why? I don't know. So I have a problem. Here they are saying no. And I'm worried each time to say that I actually promised him that he will be buried in Nigeria. And one day, I'm sure I am going to achieve it. And I will need your support. I will need your support. And I'm sure you were all there during the 80th birthday. He took all of us there and said, here is where I want to be buried. Abi? He took all of us there. So, if I don't make it, make sure one of you make it. Exhume him and bury him in Nigeria. That is what he wants. He did everything for us. Let us do this for him. I don't know why he said so. I spent a day with him, a full day with him in Cork. And that was the only message he gave me. Now I'm proud of all of you. At least you continue to remember him. Clap for yourself. Not many people remember good deeds. I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of being an Akokite. I'm not from St. Pimbers, but I'm an Akokite. I went to University of Lagos in Akoka. I stayed in Akoka all my life, so I'm an Akokite. So I'm very proud of you. I thank you for making this day, and I want to appeal to all of you to donate generously to this thing. I have seen our priest here, who spoke last, speaking about racism and so on and so forth. I think sometimes we take it too far. I remember when I was a student, I went on holiday in London, and I was sitting with a white rascal who asked me and said, "Do you have a tail?" I said, why should I have a tail? He said, are you not from the, I thought you are from the monkey area. I said, yes, we have monkeys, but that doesn't mean I must have a tail. He said, I think you are all monkeys there. No, I said, we are not monkeys there. Well, all the monkeys there have white faces. You know, even the white guys in the plane, everybody laughed, and we laughed it off. But there was one stubborn black man sitting by my side. I think it must be one of these British black people. And he stood up, brought out a knife, cut the man's tie, told the man to open his mouth, and blocked his mouth with his tie for calling me a monkey. And the next step, he went down and wanted to pull me out with him. I said, no, leave me alone. I'm not with you. The man abused me, and I abused him back. Why should you go and cut his tie and block his? I'm not with you at all. So we take this thing too far. We take racism too far. Maybe one or two do it. But now, I have been probably all over the world. Nobody ever, I've never seen where I've been, where any racist has acted against me. It is what you feel inside you. If they abuse you, abuse them back. Finish. Just because you don't need to, just give it simply to him. Say, I have tail. I say, no, I don't have a tail, but all the monkeys have white faces. That's enough for me. And that was good enough. So thank you all. Make sure you donate generously here, and God will bless you. The more you give, the more you take. Thank you, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Well, one thing I can say is that I didn't write that script. So, thanks for leaving your phone behind for me. Mr. Chairman, I've always dreamt of owning a phone like this. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, quickly, we will dive into the next item, which is item 8 on the agenda. Thereafter, we'll do dinner. And that will be the launching of the 500 million Endowment Fund. And as we welcome him to the stage, I would like to acknowledge the arrival of one of the powerhouses, both St. Finbar's College, Lagos State, and indeed the whole nation. Could we all please put our hands together as I welcome the former Attorney General of Lagos State, Moyosore Onigbanjo. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming. So, Chairman, Board of Trustees, it's over to you. Thank you.
It could work. Okay. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this evening is a great occasion. It's good to see again distinguished Senator Anthony Adefuye. When we were planning the 80th anniversary birthday of Father Slattery, we, the old boys, were small caucus then. He insisted that the chairman of the planning committee must be Senator Anthony Adefuye, his great friend. And I told him he's not from St. Finbar. I said, and so what? He is a Finbarian in heart. So I'm so happy to have Senator Adefuye here again. Our path never crossed after that grand 80th birthday anniversary, but I've always monitored his progress. He's someone who can launch the whole of the money we needed single-handedly. Again, I'm so delighted to have His Excellency Peter Ryan from the Irish ambassador here. If there's anything we want to do that relates to Father Slattery, it is important that we go back to his hometown, to his country. And we found in Peter Ryan someone who epitomizes what Father Slattery is in Nigeria. Very warm. I could say he's easily a Nigerian, and he spent less than a year in Nigeria. But he is so adaptive to the Nigerian environment, and he has quickly learned all the good and the bad things in Nigeria. Tonight, we must fulfill Father Slattery's dream, having a premier institution that epitomizes what an ideal educational institution, secondary education, should be. In my usual routine, daily routine, I start the day with prayer, and then I think I go into WhatsApp maybe 3 hours later, because once you go into WhatsApp, you can't get out. And sometimes I have over 1,000 messages on my WhatsApp. But this morning, as soon as I entered into my WhatsApp, I saw something that will that spoke about what we plan to do today. Before that video will be relayed, but I want to know here among us, is there anyone that is 30 years old or less than 40 among us here? Apart from the students or old boys. Okay, so this video is very instructive. Please, Mr. President, can they show us this video? It's just for a few minutes before we go to the launching.
Have you ever thought about this? In 100 years, so like in 2123, we will all be buried with our relatives and friends. Strangers will live in our homes we fought so hard to build, and they will own everything we have today. All our possessions will be unknown and unborn, including the car we spent a fortune on, and will probably be scrap, preferably in the hands of an unknown collector. Our descendants will hardly know who we are, nor will they remember us. How many of us know who our grandfather's father was? After we die, we will be remembered for a few more years, and then we are just a portrait on someone's bookshelf. And a few years later, our history, photos, and deeds disappear into history's oblivion. We won't even be memories. If we paused one day to analyze these questions, perhaps we would understand how ignorant and weak the dream to achieve it all was. If we could only think about this, surely our approaches, our thoughts would change, and we would be different people. Always having more, no time for what's really valuable in this life. I'd change all of this to live and enjoy the walks I've never taken, these hugs I didn't give, these kisses for our children and our loved ones, these jokes we didn't have time for. Those would certainly be the most beautiful moments to remember. After all, they would fill our lives with joy. And we waste it day after day with greed, and intolerance. What a shame.
What that little video encapsulates is that none of us is going to take anything back when we live here. Whatever it is we have, whatever it is we want to possess, at the last time of our earthly existence, they will be shared by others, or they will be lost into oblivion. What legacy do you and I want to leave behind? We are talking of Father Slattery today because of his good legacies. He came all the way from Ireland at the age of 26, not to Lagos, to Inyekiti. I was telling His Excellency, I said, even now, in Inyekiti, I can't live there. Not to talk of when Father Slattery came in 1931 or something. He laid down his life for us to have good education. He was the singular person who made sure that the mission schools were returned to the missionaries. I was with him throughout the journey, and we used to go to Alausa Secretariat, and he will go and confront Otedola. Otedola, you must let the Catholics or the missionaries, he didn't speak of Catholic schools alone, all the mission schools, that they must be returned back, that they need to experience what the school is like. And it was pathetic when the states, the government took over the school. In fact, at a point, St. Finbar's was turned into a co-educational institution. There was no window, no toilet, and the teachers were unruly because they said they didn't own their existence to old boys or to the Catholic, that they were employed by Lagos state government. It was such a pathetic situation, and he fought hard. In the end, we got the schools back, and coincidentally, as soon as this current president got into office as governor, he gave back all the missionary schools in Lagos to the all the mission schools to the missionaries. And that was the beginning of the new upbuilding for St. Finbar's College. The old boys have tried, the Catholic have tried, the Archbishop and so on, but we can't stop the momentum. The school needs all the resources and the support that we all can give, and that's the kernel of today's gathering. Dip your hands into your pockets and let us show gratitude for the opportunity of going to this citadel of learning. And so the race has begun. We were to eat before this, but they say if we eat, people will go. So that's why we changed the narrative. we say, let us all come and show who we are and how we believe in education. Father Slattery, his book we have to immortalize as we immortalize his name. In the last chapter of his book, he said he knows Nigerians, he trusts Nigerians. He said, whatever they do, they don't play with education because education is light. And we all do it. We will spend our last dime to ensure that we give quality education to our children. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor to call on the president or the MC to, I don't know how to do the Rotarian things they do. And I know Senaya is a Rotarian, the MC, and he knows how to conduct this thing. So I'll pass the baton over to you to kickstart this special item on the program.
Yes, sir.
So that Fimbers can turn into a university in not too distant a future. Thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Chairman BOT. So how do we do this? I think I need help here. If I knew how to raise money, I wouldn't be where I am today. But we will try. We will try. And I think the best way to do this is that we all are here for a purpose. We know that apart from having dinner,
Actually, John and I, we started our broadcast careers on the same day.
yes, we did the same
In
training
1980.
school. That's right.
At the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria.
You only say you can't hear Igbo past me.
I had an unfair advantage. It was biological. But
It must be
that said,
the Irish blood in you came out.
yes. Let me say it straight away that, gentlemen, especially our guests,
Yes.
we are not in the habit of just asking people to come to our aid in terms of making donations. As we speak, a lot of our distinguished old boys have collectively put together the sum of 60 million naira towards the...
Whoa. Whoa.
Many of them are seated with us, and all of them insisted on being described as Mr. and Mrs. Anonymous. But they know that I know them, and I'm looking at them in the face, and except you can laser trace my eyes, you might not know who they are, but they are here, and we're very grateful to them. It is only after we have done this that we feel the need to look outside of St. Finbar's for support. And in that direction, we have invited some of our very special guests. I would like to ask some of our esteemed awardees to this evening, shortly after this, some of our more distinguished old boys will formally receive the title called Distinguished Conqueror. And that it will be conferred on them this evening. So I would like at this time, because they were told to invite their friends to come and identify with them. So let me hear you say hallelujah.
Okay, so we're back here.
Okay, now, thank you. We're back on. So, one of our old boys who promised to bring his friends here, I don't know, I'm looking at you, we're looking at each other. So, who has brought his friend here who is going to, as it were, show some solidarity. Are you present? Where is that friend here?
Yes, he is.
That friend is here.
You could name him if you want to.
Our senior advocate. Senior advocate is your friend here.
Okay.
David is your friend here. Please come and introduce your friend and let him. Oh, he's anonymous too.
He's anonymous.
Okay, he's going to do something.
Okay.
Okay, so please,
let's give him a round of applause. And
okay, so is there anyone here who doesn't want to be anonymous? Otherwise, we will pass the pledge slips around.
And if by chance we have anyone here who has his rent in his pocket, just like the chairman, could you please declare your rent? And you know what happened to the chairman when he declared his 10,000 naira rent? It came back to him
manifold. He became a senator.
Any
aspiring senators here? But we understand the signs of the times, and we know that coming out and making huge donations publicly is probably a no-no at this point. So
yes.
The chairman of the finance committee, Mr. Fumi Ademoshu, has arranged for pledge slips to be passed around, and by perchance, if you have a check and you would like to make good on it, feel free to do so.
Okay. So I think what we should do is let us ask our chairman, sir, do you have your rent in your pocket today?
He's a landlord. He doesn't pay rent.
Would you like to kick off this?
The microphone will find.
Let's know how much of your rent you'll be willing to let go of this evening. Our chairman, Senator Defuye, we trust that if you want us to bring Father Slattery back.
1 million.
1 million naira. 1 million. Please give him a round of applause. Give him a round of applause. And it's infectious. It's infectious. I know that around that table, I smell a lot of millions. So should we go around that table? It catches fast.
The senior advocate of Nigeria wants to say a word.
He said we didn't ask if it was dollar, euro, or pound.
He didn't say whether it was
naira. Okay. No, okay.
He said he didn't ask if it was dollar, euro, or pounds.
No, we assumed it's pounds. We just assumed it's pounds. So
when I send it, you know.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So we will move quickly. May I have one of the pretty ladies with me? I don't work without them. Do we, by any chance, on this table have any more donations to support the chairman? He's a Liverpool fan. He never walks alone. Okay. Would like to pledge one thing or the other. Thank you very much. We'll wait for the ambassador. Oh, thank you. Hello. Hi. Okay, so our former Attorney General. Hello, sir. I always want my moment of fame. Where are the camera? Thank you. Eti Moshe. Yes. You know, I've been trying to track this man down for ages. I never knew it would be easy. So, sir, could you just make a declaration for us?
Well, you know, I'm now unemployed. So that obviously affects what I can do. But you know, as a Fimbarian, I've always supported the school. I'll continue to support the school, and I'll chip in a token contribution to the school's fund for this befitting event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I don't want to announce it. There's EFCC, ICPC. Those ones are even good. Then there are the area boys who will follow you. So, but yes, you get something. Thank you very much.
We quite understand. As a matter of fact, we prefer it that way, you know, so that, you know, you know what you want to do and you do it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. May I have a round of applause for him? Yes. Sorry, I don't want to leave this table. Do we have any donations, any intentions, any plans? No? Nothing from Baptist Academy Old Boys? I know why. I know why. They've been belly aching since 1970, 72. Belly aching. 4-2. We gave them 4-2. 4 goals to 2 at, I think you had, what's his name? Yebufra, one of those. He wants to fight back. You can't fight back 50 years after, sir.
As much as I don't want to take retaliation, John, you brought me in here and you said I have my tail
between your legs.
Meanwhile, the chairman of the occasion has said that so many years they had to dip a tie in somebody's.
So
but having said that,
I should remove my tie.
Having said that,
otherwise,
I think that route that you're referring to was in 1972.
1972, yes. It was 4 goals to 2. I was there at the stadium.
No. It was a 2-goal difference, no doubt. But it was 2 goals to
2-0.
Yes, and I mean, with all due respect and regards,
yes.
And I have my dear sister here.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, my dear sister here, Major General Amonsu retired. I am sure we of the Alliance schools in Lagos, comprising St. Finbar's ourselves, Methodist Girls High School, just name them, the Bombers, St. Gregory's. We will make sure, by the special grace of God, we will always continue to support you. You know.
Thank you.
You know that.
I know so.
You know that.
Thank you very much.
Whilst we're
but
at
that year, so let me leave this. That year that you beat us 2-0,
yes.
We beat.
You beat other schools.
St. Gregory's.
Oh, St. Gregory's.
Oh,
St. Gregory's. Your seniors, we beat them.
Nobody reckoned with St. Gregory's those years.
Not true.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, the microphone right now finds His Excellency, the Ambassador of Ireland in Nigeria, Peter.
Ryan.
Thank you very much. I thought you might have heard enough of me earlier on. I think the public servants in the room will recognize that we are always very enthusiastic to assist and help, but the decision, of course, has to come from our leadership. But I think one of the reasons why we came here today and why we appreciate the connection with St. Finbar's is to see what we can do to help continue this relationship into the future. And delighted to assure you, as I did earlier this year, that we'll continue that effort. So thanks to everybody who has supported. We'll continue to try and find ways to cement that relationship. I think that it's an opportunity, I think, for example, for a scholarship between St. Finbar's for somebody to go to Ireland. And perhaps in the sporting way, maybe we need to get some more Irish over here to visit St. Finbar's also. So if there's some connection that we can make with Kieran the man, you have some good people around. We have some good people in our community here, and I think on behalf of, certainly on behalf for the embassy's part, what I didn't tell you, Patrick, and you'll remember this, but I haven't told the wider group, that we're in the process of building our largest ever embassy on the continent of Africa. It's currently being built in Abuja. I look forward to welcoming St. Finbar's there, perhaps as our guests, as soon as we do open. Yes. And it'll be another little bit of Ireland in Nigeria, and we look forward to welcoming you.
I'm Irish too.
Everyone wants to be Irish. It's great.
Irish.
It's great. We're very lucky. But we look forward to welcoming you there. And,
thank you so much.
You have to wear the yellow and blue.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much.
His Excellency Peter Ryan.